Here in North Carolina, we are experiencing a little bit of a delayed spring. We are having still some super cold temperatures, bunch of ice, bunch of rain. That is the word for this year so far, just rain, rain, and rain. But still, I want to try to get this video out and just kind of go over my rod and reel arsenal for the 2021 season. I didn't do one 2020 just because it was pretty similar to my 2019 rod and reel arsenal, which is on my channel. I really made some changes, really got all kinds of new stuff. Hope you like this video and stay tuned and enjoy. Thank you so much. I've got a lot of rods in this rod box. I've actually got every single rod and reel that I've really used for tournament or any sort of tournament application in this boat today, because sometimes I'm going on buddies' boats, sometimes I'm going, I don't know, just to a pond or something, and I keep rods at home for that. But right now, for the purposes of this video, I've got every single one of the rods and reels that I use for bass fishing right here in my box. And it's not as many as some people might have, but it's still a good bit, quite a few rods. So yeah, now where my boat's not full size, I'm gonna have to lower the trolling motor in order to fully lift up my rod box right here. So let me go ahead and latch it, and I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling these things out. You can see I've actually already got a couple right here, just ones up, like I said, they were at home and I brought them in my car. So yeah, I'm going to start pulling all these suckers out, and we're going to go through every single one of them, and you can kind of get an idea of how I approach situations, throw different baits, and so on. So let's go ahead and start getting them out. Tell you what it is, what it's for, and how I use it, kind of thing. And before I get started, I want to go ahead and say that a lot of these are going to be ducket. I've got a lot of ducket and a lot of loose, because I've got a loose hoodie on right now. And it's always good to improve yourself, get new reels, try them out, kind of mix match what you think will work and what works best for you. And that's another thing from the other video that I really want to reiterate, is that all this stuff that I'm using, the way I use these rods and reels, is going to be specific to myself. I'm just kind of going over the way that is going to it works very best for me to try to help others out. And it's everybody's different, and that's the beauty, especially in bass fishing. That is the beauty of it, is that it's so many different ways to do it. I mean, you look at all these different bass anglers. There are so many different techniques and so many different ways to fish, that's the beauty, and that's what makes everybody have their own unique kind of style to where and how they will catch their fish. So without anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into all this. I got all my rods up here, and I want this to be my background, but the sun is kind of glaring in a little bit, so you just have to bear with me here. Hopefully you'll still be able to see the rods and reels. I'm gonna start with the back and work my way forward here. Gonna start us off with the very heaviest setup that I have. This is my Ducket Ghost. It's a 7'3" heavy power. And this thing right here is the workhorse. This is the heaviest, like I said, this is the heaviest rod and reel that I own. This thing right here, I've got it paired on a Quantum Smoke S3 reel with 8.1 to 1 gear ratio. Super fast, and there's reason for that. This thing right here is going to be my punch-in, my jig, my heavy jig fishing rod, frog rod as well. I've got it spooled with 80-pound braid, and I've got a leader on there for fluorocarbon for kind of throwing a heavy, like flipping bait up around structure and stuff. This is the one that you're going to throw into the heaviest stuff you can find. This is going to be it. Big handles, I really like that in a flipping setup or frog fishing setup, whatever I want to use this for. This is the one where you throw it up in that heavy structure, and you're going to set the hook hard, and you're going to get that fish out. There's not going to be any specific order to the way I'm going. The only real order that I've got going on right now is I'm going to do my spinning reels and rods last. But next up on the list, this is going to be my square bill setup. I've got this thing set up on a St. Croix Premier. This thing is a 7-foot medium power and it is a fast action. This thing right here is perfect for throwing these small like crankbaits. It's a Bass Pro Shops. It's an old Pro Light Special. It's got the built-in rubber handles on it. It's a really nice setup. I really like the looks of this thing. It looks really nice for different applications and everything. And that rod really has just the right amount of flex for fishing a square bill that it lets the bait deflect. Next up, we got the Lose Mock Crush. Y'all seen this in a few of my videos already. Made a little bit of a switch here this year. Instead of throwing that copolymer line that like I was before, now the sun is really coming out on me. All right, hopefully y'all can still see. I'm actually throwing this on 50-pound braid. It's kind of like a down, just a size down from that really heavy flipping setup. But with that braid, I mean, I can still throw like a jig or something. I can throw a big swim bait if I wanted to. I could throw maybe a smaller frog or something around. Next up is kind of like my, this is also my jig fishing rod, but this is a little bit different type of jig fishing rod. The open water jig fishing. You see I got a football head jig on there. This thing's got, I believe it's 12-pound test, fluorocarbon on there. This is a Duckett Ghost rod, and this is my Abu Garcia 7:1 gear ratio as Abu Garcia Pro Max reel. Does really nice for all around, just wanting to throw maybe like a Carolina rig or throwing that football head jig. That's kind of what my main applications for this, and it does really well. I've got some reel grips on there as well that helps me out with my handling this setup. But yeah, the setup right here, really good deal for open water fishing. All right, here we are back to another Lose combo. This is the Lose Mach 2. Y'all seen this one in some of my videos as well. This thing is also a very, very versatile setup. I've got this thing, I got a 12-pound copolymer line on there, and it's really suited for really anything. I can throw a weightless sink on this thing and then turn around and throw whatever else I wanted to, whether it be a small swim bait, maybe even throw like a little spinnerbait or something on here. This thing really handles a little bit of everything. You can see there's actually got some darkness in the handle. I made a video about how I actually cleaned that up a little bit on some of my reels, and this thing right here has just been, I've used this thing to death, and I've caught a lot of fish on this thing. Next up, we have this right here. It's one of my favorite setups that I've got. This is the St. Croix's Cranker rod. This rod is a 7'2" medium power, and it's with a moderate action. Super soft rod, has just the right action you want. It's a glass rod, Mojo Bass glass is what this actually is. I've got this on a with a Shimano Chronarch reel, 6.5 to 1. Nothing too fast. Don't really want to ever get much over 6. I'll use this for anything, my deep diving crankbaits, and I've got 12-pound fluorocarbon on this setup. Next up, I've got my jerkbait rod. I've got actually a soft Texas rig jerkbait on here right now, basically just a Texas rig fluke that I got weightless, but this is also a rod that I'll throw a jerkbait on. It's a 7'2" medium power fast action, and then I seen they made the Accuracy in the blue, and I thought that would kind of complement that setup real nicely. So now I got me a cool blue combo for my jerkbait setups, and this thing, it's an awesome feeling setup. I love throwing this thing. It's just a lot of fun. You can be really precise with it too, and go offshore, throw a big jerkbait out there, and work it over some structure. I've got this spooled up with 10-pound fluorocarbon. Also, one of my favorite setups as well. This is a Duckett Silverado. It is a 7-foot medium heavy power. I love using this thing, utilizing it for a lot of different techniques. You can see I've got a small structure jig that I've got tied on there. But this is the setup that I'll use for any type of Texas rig or small jigs and stuff like that. I've got this one with a Lose Custom speed spool reel. This one right here is a 7.5 to 1 gear ratio, and I've got it with 14-pound fluorocarbon fishing line. Good sensitive feel to the whole rod in general. Moving on, right here I have got, this is another Duckett Ghost. This one is a 7'3" medium heavy power as well, and this one right here is the Daiwa Arid Coastal reel. I use this for a few different applications. I really like utilizing this for top water in the summertime, but of course I'll put monofilament on there in the wintertime, and I utilize this long rod for a spinnerbait rod. It does fantastic. I got a spinnerbait on here, and right now I kind of opt between going back between either 10 to 12 pound fluorocarbon or 10 or 12 pound monofilament, just depending whether I want to go with that top water bite or want to go back to that wintertime kind of spinnerbait fishing. But I'll get back to spinnerbaits just a second. I got another combo that I'll throw them on. But the reason I like it is just that longer rod. It's just a great setup. I mean, I love fishing this thing. And with that big wide handle, it gives you a lot of power for burning that spinnerbait or kind of fishing on top water. That versatility aspect of this rod, and use that reel, that big long, wide handle there to fish a lot of different baits on it. And y'all have probably seen already that one of the big things that I do here is use versatile stuff. That's because I can't afford a different combo for every single lure in my tackle box. I really have to utilize those versatile rods and reels and kind of swap out lines depending on what I'm doing, what kind of what time of year the tournament that I'm fishing is in, and that's kind of the way I approach all these things. Next up, I've got my spinnerbait slash bladed jig rod, and I really have developed this rod because when I really developed myself to using this rod for spinnerbaits and bladed jigs, especially bladed jigs, because granted I will still use that softer, that crankbait rod for throwing bladed jigs, but when you're wanting to kind of get up on the bank, throw that bladed jig around structure and stuff, I found that this rod does better. This is a Duckett Silverado, and this one is a 7-foot medium heavy power rod, and I've got this paired up with a 6:1 gear ratio HD ethos reel. It does really good for the smoothness, super smooth reel, good wide handle again, and you see I've got that paired up with I've got a jackhammer tied on there. Just does perfect for throwing that bait too. Really get in there with I got 12 pound fluorocarbon on here. It really does a great job of making precise cast, getting that bait back to me, and getting the hook up on a lot of those kind of short striking fish. This setup does really good for that. And again, spinnerbaits too. Like I said, I got a couple different rods that I'll use the same bait on, just depending on the conditions, back and forth. Here we go with the spinning reels. This is my setup. This is the Garcia Veritas. This is a 6'9" medium light power, and this thing is perfect for throwing drop shots and shaky heads. That's really what I keep this to. It's got this is 15-pound fire line, and I usually do some sort of maybe a between about an 8 and 10 pound fluorocarbon or monofilament leader, just depending. And this thing is the Garcia Revo X 6.2 to 1 gear ratio spinning reel. I've had very little trouble with this setup. In another video I talked about how it is a bit of a stiff rod, but with that medium light power to it, it still does just right for what you're looking for when you're using a with a shaky head, and even with some drop shots that I like to use, this thing still does really well for it, and I really like using this for that finesse fishing. Both of these have the exact same reel on them. This is the Akuma Helios SX reel. They're both 5.0 to 1 gear ratio reels. This one right here, I have got 7-pound fluorocarbon spool on there, and this right here I have got 8-pound fluorocarbon spool on this one. Pretty close, so I really don't get too stressed out about which one I throw which on, but basically these are the ones that I utilize throwing. Also some other shaky heads on. I'll throw Ned rigs maybe on one of these. I will throw any sort of the spinning rod applications. This one right here, the silver one, this is the Duckett Silverado. It's a 7-foot. This is a, let's see what it is, it's a medium power. This right here, this is the Duckett Jacob Wheeler Signature Series rods. I really like this setup, and really cool coloration to it, and it really does a good job. This is also a 7-foot medium power rod, and it matches up really nice for those. These Duckett rods really match up nicely with the spinning reels right there that I like using, and really enjoy using these setups for any type of finesse application. But I hope that kind of gives you an idea of how I'm approaching stuff, how I'm using stuff. And yeah, I really just want to kind of I wanted to go over this before I really get big into all the fishing that I plan on doing this year. And before I put all these combos up. One thing I was going to show y'all is just what I have in my box as well. And this right here, these are just a couple of combos that I keep what I call guest rods. Right here I've got a Fluker Tryon combo with 8-pound test on there, and I've got this one right here. This right here is a Bass Pro Shops Graphite Series rod with, what is this? This is a H2O Express Torio reel. Got that one with 10-pound test on there, a little crankbait on there, and that one right there got like a little net head, jig head on there. And these are just a couple nice little spinning rods that I'll let anybody else that comes out on my boat, might not have, may have forgot a fishing rod, or just don't want to use their stuff. I always got a couple rods for my guests. And like I said before, all these different ways that I'm fishing with these baits and rods and reels, it's all about what works best for me. I think you should always do what works best for you. So I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I hope you continue watching these. I want to try to do some more fishing and hunting videos coming up, and I really appreciate y'all's support and watching the videos and everything. So thank you so much. God bless y'all, and as always, make the best in life. Thank you so much.